Hello, biologists. Welcome back from spring break. It's going to snow. Okay, so why are we doing chapter 34? Why? Because I cannot explain to you in a way that you will care about or that I will care about how carbohydrate, protein, lipid, nucleic acid digestion happens without an overview of the digestive system. I need you to know how we're absorbing those things and breaking them down with enzymes. So in order to get to the class objectives, I'm going to have to review with you the digestive system. I promise it will be relatively painless, okay? We just all need to be on the same page about what happens where in your digestive system. Now, remember, your digestive system does not go inside your body, okay? It's like a hole of a donut, right? It goes in the mouth, whole, all the way down and out the anus, okay? In the mouth, out the anus. When we did developmental, we talked about that. Nothing that goes in your mouth actually ends up in the rest of your body unless it is absorbed through the stomach, the small intestines, somewhere, right? It doesn't just get in there, right? It has to be absorbed through channels, through transporters, through all kinds of things. So keep that in mind. Giant hole, like a donut hole, all the way through, okay? Let's break it down real quick. The mouth. This is where you start to break down food, right? Mastication, you're chewing, right? You start to mechanically break it down. And you also have saliva that starts to break it down. If you have ever just like sucked on a cracker or a piece of bread, this communion thing too, if you've ever just had a cracker in your mouth like you're a kid and you got a snack and you just like stick it in there, piece of bread, it will dissolve into like a sugar molecule, just even in your mouth. You can start to taste the like slight sweetness of it. Okay, so also we have to talk about the salivary gland, which is what's going into your mouth to begin the process of breaking down mostly carbohydrates. Amylase begins to break down the polysaccharides. Okay, and then this is really just transportation. Okay, you're swallowing your esophagus. Okay, that's just moving. There's some peristaltis in there that like moves your food down. Okay, and so then we are ended up in the stomach. Okay, you've made it down, you've chewed it, you've made it into the stomach. This stomach is going to sort of churn your food around, right? It's going to move it around. Sometimes you can hear it, sometimes you can feel it in there. There's pepsin in there that's going to start breaking down your protein. There's hydrochloric acid in there, which activates enzymes, breaks down your food, kills germs, because hydrochloric acid will kill some germs in there. There's mucus in there that protects the rest of your body from the hydrochloric acid in your stomach. But we're not really absorbing anything. Not a whole lot of things get absorbed through the stomach, right? Because if you think about the lining of your stomach is trying to prevent the hydrochloric acid from coming out. So we don't want to absorb a lot of things through the stomach because we don't want the contents of the stomach, aka hydrochloric acid, to just be all over the rest of your body, right? Nobody wants that. Nobody wants hydrochloric acid in the rest of their body. Okay, so now here's where the fun happens, starting in the duodenum or duodenum. It's pronounced both ways. I'm part of the Human Anatomy and Physiology Society, and I hear it equally pronounced duodenum or duodenum. I'll mix it up just for fun. This is your duodenum, okay? It is connected to your liver and your gallbladder if you have one, right? This is going to break down, this is really how we're going to break down proteins. Bile, indigestion, all of that stuff it helps destroy poisons, right? It helps break down alcohol, right? So like give your liver a break a couple days a week. Stores vitamins and iron. Your liver is kind of a big deal, right? And that all comes in here to the duodenum. Okay, this is like the part of your stomach. Now, also keep in mind, this is a giant acidic ball of hydrochloric acid, right? So there's got to be, and then your small intestines, you're going to absorb stuff. So we're slowly going to increase the pH from like a nasty 2.0 hydrochloric acid. We're going to try and ease ourselves into the small intestine where we actually want to start absorbing things. Okay? So now we are in, let's not forget the pancreas, right? The pancreas is really important. I'm sorry, the pancreas is also up here in the duodenum, right? Getting ready to put things in the small intestines. This is going to regulate your blood blood glucose. Okay, this is really important in glucose regulation and carbohydrate breakdown. It has the bicarb that's going to reduce that acid. Remember, you got hydrochloric acid in here. You don't want that in your small intestines because you're going to absorb things. You don't want to absorb hydrochloric acid. So your pancreas has some bicarb in it to neutralize that stomach acid so that stomach acid does not go into your small intestine, right? You don't want that. So this whole duodenum, this whole curve here is preparing your stomach contents to enter the small intestines. A continual like additional breakdown, adding some enzymes, putting some bicarb in there. Okay. You also have some amylase in there to break down the polysaccharides, some lipase to break down the lipids, right? We're breaking stuff down because once we enter the small intestines, now we're going to try and absorb it into your body. Okay. So your small intestines, this is where most of your digestion, your absorption happens, right? It absorbs nutrients, water, digestive proteins, sucrose, everything. We're going to talk a lot about this. Okay. As it goes through this mass, right, it ultimately ends up in your large intestines, and your large intestines that's really just some water and some, a few ions, but mostly everything has been absorbed in the small intestines. And then from that, you got the rectum and the anus, where we're just, moving things along. Okay? Overview. Now, again, the human digestive tract, extremely complex. It's a tube within a tube, right? It's a hole. Your body's a tube. It's a tube within the bigger tube of your body, and it's a hole. Just remember, it is a hole. It's like a long, giant tube. Digestion is entirely extracellular. You don't just absorb stuff, right? It doesn't just go in your mouth and into your body. It has to be absorbed. Digestive enzymes are involved in this. Okay, so here's a rabbit. The digestive systems are all fairly similar, right? Especially once you get into mammals, right? Liver, pancreas. We have some more advanced things because we're larger, but right, it's all fairly similar. Okay, here's the man. Here's, right, again, another visual, salivary glands, same thing. Starting with the mouth, salivary amylase. Remember, that's going to begin to break down your starch, right? You're going to masticate or chew. It's going to break it down. It mixes with saliva, and it's called a bolus, right? A bolus. Once you start chewing and you get all the grossness, right? It's a bolus. So you ask a little kid what's in your mouth and they go, bolus. Okay. The pharynx. Basically this covers the opening of your trachea so you don't get food, down your respiratory, right? You don't want that. Epiglottis, super important there. Look at this. I think I have a picture of it. Yeah. Nope. Here's the esophagus. Here's the larynx. You don't want it to go into your lungs, right? You want it to go down the esophagus, okay? Esophagus takes food to the stomach by peristalsis. I'll show you a video. It's like these little fingers in your esophagus that moves the food down. It's a little bit gross, but okay. And now here's your bolus being moved down into the digestive tract. We're moving her down, right? We're not choking on it, and the epiglottis is keeping it from going into your lungs. Okay, we've made it to the stomach. Now, we're just going to mechanically churn, chemically break the food down. We're going to add a little acid. We're going to add some hydrochloric acid in there. We're going to add some pepsin enzymes, and we're going to start breaking stuff down. It's a reservoir where the food sets as we break it down. And then you can see here, we're going to slowly release it into the duodenum. Okay, we're not just going to send it all at once because it would overload that system. Because remember, our curvature, our duodenum there, we've got to neutralize that acid and sort of prepare it to enter the small intestines. Because we're not absorbing a lot from this stomach. We got a big lining here because we don't want the hydrochloric acid to get into the rest of your body. No, we don't want that. Okay, so your food is mixing. Oh, it was a bolus. Now it's chyme, right? And we have this pyloric sphincter. This is going to let small amounts of food from your stomach into your duodenum. Okay? Here's the stomach lining. Stomach lining. Okay, so remember, we have a thick stomach lining because we don't want the hydrochloric acid just spraying all over our body. No, we don't want that. We don't want the things getting out of the stomach, absorbing things. No, we want to keep the hydrochloric acid in the stomach. Okay, there's also some pepsin in there, which is a hydrolytic enzyme that acts on protein. Oh, right. Let's look again. We are all the way down to the stomach, and point of fact that I want to make, this is my drawing, as you can tell, some vocabulary, if you will, so that we're all on the same page. Ingestion, that's when we're eating. Movement, mastication, moving it around, taking it from the mouth, moving that around, taking it down into your stomach. The stomach is moving it around. That's movement, okay? So like if we're here, we're still in the stomach. Okay, this is the mouth. We are ingesting, we moved it down, we're still moving it around in the stomach. Now we have secretions. Secretion is coming in from outside, right? So we're secreting in salivary amylase. We're secreting in the pepsin, the enzymes. That's a secretion. The bicarb in our duodenum, right? That's secretions are coming in. Mucus, enzymes, secretions coming in. Right, this is about the stomach is where I'm going to say we are there. Digestion can be mechanical and chemical, right? Digestion is happening in the stomach. Okay, all of that's happening in the stomach. Now we're going to get into absorption. Okay, now we're going to start absorbing the things that we need, the carbohydrates, the nutrients, the nucleic acids, the proteins. We're going to start absorbing those from our small intestines, okay? We're going to actually absorb what we need because remember, it's a whole. So if we want something, we have to absorb it in, okay? And then, of course, elimination. That is just a reminder so that we're all on the same page. Let's enter the small intestine, shall we? We have made the turn for the duodenum, right? Yay us. And our first segment, again, is the duodenum. The chyme enters from the stomach and mixes with things from the liver and pancreas. This is an important area, I think often overlooked, right? We've got the liver here, we've got the gallbladder here, and we've got the pancreas, all putting stuff into your chyme in the duodenum before it gets to the small intestine, trying to break everything down and get it ready to be absorbed in the small intestine. Okay, let's zoom in, if you will. There are some goblet cells and microvilli. There's lots of fingers in the small intestines for extra absorption, okay? You also have goblet cells. They secrete a mucus. Remember, secretions are moving things in. They secrete a mucus to sort of lubricate that small intestine because we're moving things around. We're going to absorb them. Now, this is a sort of a zoom in of our microvilli. And in here, you're going to have capillaries and lymphatic tissue, right? So some of the things we're going to dump into the blood, absorb into the blood, and some things we're going to put into the lymphatic tissue. What? So all of this is right here. This is the little microvilla in your small intestine, and we're going to get our carbohydrates, for example, from one side of this cell. Oops, it's got to go into the cell, and then it's got to come out and get into this bloodstream. Okay, that's what we got to do to absorb the food that you ate, absorb carbohydrates. Going in, you got to get it from this barrier, right? It's got to go through this microvilli in here, and then it's got to come out and get into your blood or lymphatic system, depending on which we are. Okay, there will be a part 2 video